Let's talk about the parameters and why they're useful. Firstly, let's set up a parameter. You do that by going to transform data, and we will see manage parameters here. So if you want to add a parameter, click the drop down, click and new parameter. So we have to kind of come up with an idea of how parameters might be important. Basically, we can set up a parameter where it takes one value, one user input value, and it can apply some logic somewhere else in your query. So for example, we want to see sales orders dates after a certain date. I'm going to call this parameter sales after date, and we can give it a description. If we want to prompt the user with some sort of description, we can make it required. We can set a type in this case. I'm going to set a date and provide suggested values if you want. I'm going to provide a current value of 1/1/2015 because in my data it only ranges from about 2013 to 2016. So if you click OK, we're now going to see this new parameter. It shows up kind of a query here on the left side. So our sales after date is set to 1/1/2015, and we can change this at any time. So now you might get an idea of what is important, because if we were to look at our sales order table, we can find our sales order date field. Let's try to find where that one is. So order date, we have our order date here. So we can filter here directly if you want to say where it's after. Let's go with order date is after. Actually, let's go with is after or equal to 1/1/2015. So we're hard coding this filter in there, but this is not necessarily dynamic, especially if the user wants to see a different range of dates instead of setting it to equal to this hard-coded date. Let's actually replace it with a new parameter, which can reference directly sales after date. So now we see that actually let's go ahead and close and apply and see how many rows this brings in. So let's let that data connect and bring in those rows. So let's actually see that in our sales order table, we have 32,946 rows. So that's perfect. Let's change this sales after date to be 1/1/2016 instead. And let's close and apply. And we can see sales order and actually updating. And now we only have 9,617 rows because the parameters have changed. It's now changing our data load process. One extra step that we're not going to do into deeply is you can create a Power BI template. Once you create a Power BI report and you want to distribute it somewhere, but you don't have to provide them with the data, you can create a template, and when you do so, it's going to prompt all of these parameters that you've set up, and it's going to ask them for their input, and that is going to load the data. So this is actually kind of cool in case you set up a parameter for maybe your server name or your database. So you can ask them which server they want to connect to, which database they want to connect to. Basically, it's going to use the parameter in the data load process. And this is just an easy example of how we use these sales order date, and we are going to get rid of that for from our logic. Actually, we will keep a parameter, but let's delete our filter row step because we want all of our data to show up in our report. So let's go to the next section, which is how to profile the data.